What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. On this episode of the podcast, it's going to be a little different than the other ones. I'm going to talk a small bit about something I've been working on myself, and something that you can actually apply to your own life if it's something that you feel that you need to improve on. And this is the idea of wasting time. It sounds kind of like a funny one at the start because it sounds more like it's a negative, but there's positives to it as well if we're able to do it in the right situations. And it's something that I've had to work on myself because I noticed that I'm finding having spare time really clears up my thinking. I think that's the same for everybody, but I recently noticed that my days just run on a really tight rhythm. I go from one task to the next, keep everything as tight as possible, and never really have a lot of in-between time. So if this sounds like something that you might do yourself, it's this idea of wasting time, and the opposite applies. If you feel like you're getting nothing done and you're wasting time all the time, the same principle actually applies. So as I said, I go from one task to the next and keep everything as tight as possible. Don't really have a lot of in-between time. And what I mean by that is I wake up, I go outside, I get sun, I meditate, I make a coffee, I make breakfast, and before I make a coffee, I read, and then I go to work. And the work generally continues until lunch. I watch and listen to podcasts during lunch. I go back to work. I go to the gym. I meet friends, or I listen to a podcast on the way to the gym, get a session done, eat dinner, and then I relax and go to bed. And it's a very, very tight schedule, my Monday through Thursday, let's say. And sometimes on the Friday as well. And it can be really productive. There's no question about it. It can be a productive schedule for getting things done during the week. It definitely lends itself to, if you're working for yourself, a schedule that definitely helps to keep you in line and keep tasks ticking off. But at the same time, there is negatives to it because it doesn't give you any time for wasting time. And it's like when they say the music is created in between the notes. The idea of giving it time for things to develop and the creative side of things to improve. It's difficult to keep that rhythm up consistently if you're pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. You'll get a lot out of it, there's no question, but is it the most effective way? I don't think so, because if you listen to my podcasts and if you follow me on Instagram, I'm always trying to talk about ways that we can improve things, but improve things to make them more in line with the laws of nature in a lot of ways. And in the laws of nature, there has to be ups and downs, and there has to be push and pull. And you can get a lot out of that rhythm of what I was talking about, pushing, but then there has to be a time that things pull back a small bit. And speaking to a friend recently, we talked about the importance of wasting time and literally just hanging out, looking at the walls, sitting on the couch, not on your phone, not taking in any inputs, or not actually having anything that you need to focus on, where you were literally doing nothing, sitting outside on a chair, looking out into nature. Anything like this idea of having a time to switch off, the idea of wasting time, it can definitely be a difficult concept for many people to grasp, especially if you're someone who likes to go all the time. And I've grappled with this myself over the last couple of years, where I like to push, but the benefits of actually pulling back, it can be pretty significant. And even to think about the amount that you can gain from just getting out of the house and going for a walk and giving yourself an opportunity to disconnect from the rigmarole of everyday life and the constant stressors and things pulling from you from everyday life, where you get out in nature and you just go for a walk. Now, for some people, they like music, others, they don't want to put on music. Maybe you do half your walk with music or a podcast on, and then the other half, then you turn it off and you relax. But going to the seaside, sitting and watching the waves, exploring, but not looking for anything in particular, and doodling, these are all things that I need to practice more myself, but they're all things that will allow the mind to relax. And they're all things that anyone who's listened to this podcast, you can imagine that, and you probably know the benefits of it. It really helps. It's a great way of relaxing the mind. It's like when you go into a sauna and you sit down and you just relax in the sauna. You don't think of anything else. you might be talking to people, you might not be, or when you're in an ice bath and you just have that clarity of mind because you've purposely taken the time out to do that. Now, it's something that, as I said, it can be a difficult concept to grasp because we're always feeling like we need to be doing the next thing and we need to be pushing on to the next thing. But as I said, it gives time for the mind to actually process things. It allows the mind to be free of plans, to be free of actions, and to kind of defocus. Because how would you expect yourself? It's like if you push throughout the day. This is me talking to myself as well in a lot of ways. It's like if you pushed throughout the day and then tried to continue to push throughout the night as well and never took that time to sleep. How many days do you reckon you could do that in a row before you collapse? Is it the most productive way? Absolutely not. We need to open the door for creativity, and we need to open the door for the body to change its level of focus, and to, I guess it's a time for recuperation. It's a time for recovery. But when you create these spaces during the day that you have a chance to relax, you have a chance to not take in anything, it definitely gives you the opportunity to consider things from a different perspective, and not a perspective that's loaded with an emotional energy. And what I mean is not a perspective that's you have a bias on something because you're looking at it one way because there's an emotion that's driving that way of thinking. When you pull back and you give yourself a chance to relax and to disconnect, as I said, it opens that door for creativity, allows the mind to be free of plans, of actions as well. But that idea of giving it time to process things lets the subconscious and the conscious work together, and to really figure out what is the biggest issue and what are things that you need to improve on, and what are things that actually aren't an issue at all, but you're ruminating on them and you're overthinking them. And what we do then as well when we're ruminating and we're overthinking is we look to take our attention to something short term, whether that be on social media or you're watching videos or trying to change your attention to something that's not going to be beneficial long term, but it allows you to get out of that state of mind short term. And this is where, like, when you go for a walk, in the first couple of minutes of the walk, if you have been ruminating on something, it often dies down after a couple of minutes. And as I said, you come out the other end with a different perspective on it. Now, the opposite end of that is true as well, because some of us probably feel that we waste too much time and all the things that we could get done in the day and that we're not improving on anything at all. And I get stuck in this mindset as well, even though I have what would be considered a productive rhythm in ways. It definitely happens to me that I get to the point that I think that I can't get anything done. Even if I'm working 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours or whatever more in the day, it just feels like at the end of the day, geez, I got nothing done, or at the end of the week, I got nothing done that week. And that is one side to it. But once you become more conscious around the idea of allowing yourself to be free from plans, and this is something that I've had to grapple with and I've had to battle with, having a designated time to do nothing, the rule applies. The opposite also is true then, because it gives you the opportunity to have a designated time to do something. Because you say, I'm going to just go here, once I get this done, I'm going to just sit out with a coffee in the sun, sit out with a coffee outside and relax for a couple of minutes, and then I will come back in and I will take care of those other tasks. And I'm trying not to use social media in that time. For a guy who works on social media, it's very easy to waste time on social media, and waste time in the negative sense of I'm just scrolling, doing nothing, and just watching videos and thinking I'm being productive and thinking that I'm working. So I've had to kind of break that habit. I've had to leave my phone in another room when I plan to do these time wasting activities, where I leave my phone inside and I will go and sit outside, so I don't have the opportunity to grab it. And it does definitely switch your perspective when you say that, okay, I want to allow myself to be free from plans. And if you get stuck in the state of mind that you're trying and you're getting nothing done, sometimes flipping that and looking at it inversely, as Charlie Munger would say, and giving yourself time, okay, well, I'm going to take an hour here that I'm going to do nothing at all, nothing crazy. And then after that hour's up, then I will tuck back into work. Now, it takes a bit of discipline to actually get back into the work. And it's not something that you should, like, what we can do as well is, when you say I'm going to take an hour here, it's probably best 5 or 10 minutes before the hour is up to start to kind of get yourself back into the rhythm, as opposed to waiting for the time to finish on the hour and then trying to get yourself back into rhythm. Because if you do it the opposite way, if you do it that you just wait till right to the hour, it's easy to lose 15 minutes there, where you have to kind of muster yourself up and get yourself going. But if you have 10 minutes within the hour of the time that you said you're going to waste time, and you start to get yourself up and going, it allows you to kind of build a bit of momentum. And then when the hour kicks off, then you're ready to go. Because I think we can all get stuck on that, saying, I'm going to go to bed at 11 o'clock. And then you're on your phone right up until 11 o'clock. And then you find yourself 15 minutes, half an hour, muddling around the house after 11 o'clock, trying to get things done or trying to get yourself ready for bed. But if you brought that back to quarter to 11, you started to build it up from quarter to 11, where you had that momentum. So at 11 o'clock, you can actually jump into the bed. It seems to be a more effective method of hitting things and taking things off. But when you have this idea that you can have time on and you have time off, and you can waste time at certain stages, it switches your perspective on when you can and when you should be productive and working towards a better life for yourself. And then also when you should allow yourself to do nothing at all. And you kind of remove that pressure that you may put on yourself to get things done, because you know, well, this is actually a designated time that I said I was going to do nothing, and then the other one is a designated time that I'm going to be more productive. And it's an interesting change in perspective and how it actually develops, but it does start to fall into itself. And I found that it makes my time when doing work, if I'm in training or if I'm in the gym or if I'm out with friends even, all the better, because I know it's a choice that I've made, and it's a choice I've made a choice to refresh. So when I'm working, I know this is the time that I'm pushing, and then I want to have that little half an hour in between work where I'm going to do nothing, or maybe it might only be 10 minutes sometimes. I know I've made the choice to refresh here, so I'm not going to put pressure on myself to get loads of things done. I'm just going to waste time. And then I have the choice to start to work hard again. And the thing is, the scales can tip either direction at different times of the year, depending on what's going on in your life. You could look at it in seasons, so you can look at it on a day-to-day in between the hours, or you could look at it on a 3-month basis of saying, okay, I'm going to push a little bit more for these 3 months, and then I'm going to take a little bit of time off for the 3 months after that. Okay, so you can do it in the short term, and you can do it over a longer term as well. And the winter then, for some, may be a bit more relaxed, or you might even get a bit more work done in the winter if it's like working on yourself. And the summer, then you can be more active, where you're getting outside and you're doing different things. But what we're doing when we look at it this way is we are applying the natural laws of nature, the rhythm of nature, the up and down, the push and the pull, the yin and the yang of nature. And if we can look at doing that, where you have your yin, you have your yang, and you can focus on, okay, well, this time I'm going to push, and this time I'm going to pull back, and you can break that down into your days where you have a couple of hours at a time. It's something that myself have really enjoyed trying to apply. And I've by absolute no means perfected the skill yet, but it's something that I'm applying. It's something that I'm taking time to apply. And it's something that I would suggest, if you get caught in these states that you feel like you waste too much time and that you get nothing done, or if you get caught in the state that you feel like you are pushing all the time and you're not taking enough time to relax, it works for both sides of it, because really all you're doing is making the choice, a conscious choice, and setting an intention to have different rhythms at different times of the day. So when are you setting times aside to be productive? When are you setting time aside to waste time? And if you can spend big blocks of either, and you're able to fit in little blocks here and there where you say, okay, I'm going to do 3 hours of work here, and then I'm going to do a little bit of wasting time, and that's your week as normal, and then Friday comes and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to do 2 hours of work and I'm going to do 2 hours off, then you can change that. There's nothing that needs to be too strict, but it really, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it so that you are more conscious, that you are making that choice and setting that intention at different times of your day and week to apply this method. So that's all I wanted to chat about today. A nice little simple podcast on the idea of wasting time, something I'm trying to do more myself and trying to apply to my life more, and I'm journaling on it and working on this consciously. It's an intention I have in my head for the week as well, to try develop it throughout the weeks and the months, and it's been enjoyable so far to do it. It's just trying to maybe this is the side of me now that's kicking up, trying to optimize it and trying to perfect it, and find what works for me more specifically is the part now that I need to refine. So that's all. Yeah, I don't know if that goes completely against the podcast, that last saying, but old habits die hard, for sure. But yeah, interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know. Shoot me a message on Instagram at RobbieCassidy_. Shoot me an email at info@themobilitytutor.com and let me know when you waste time, or if you have a different perspective on it. I would love to hear it. People always reach out to me and talk to me about the different podcasts and let me know about their thoughts on it. And I love the discussion side of things, because it's something that we're all developing and we're all pushing together and we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to get to the same place, wherever that is, or we're moving in the same direction anyway. We have a compass set towards a happier, more enjoyable, more fulfilled life, and that's something that I think we all have input on, and we can all have a different opinion on what's the best way to do it. But the only way you're going to form a better opinion on it is from hearing other opinions, because sometimes we can pigeon ourselves into the opinions that we have and not look outside of that. So that's why I want you to reach out. I want you to let me know what you think of it, and I want you to give me a couple of ideas on it, how you do it. Is there another perspective on it? So yeah, shoot me a message on Instagram. Otherwise, if this is a podcast that you enjoy, I've said it on the other ones, I'm trying to get the podcast up to 1,000 ratings on iTunes and Spotify. So if you scroll up, if you enjoy the podcast, or if you listen to these podcasts, I would say, if you wouldn't mind, I would love if you could scroll up to the top of the podcast and hit the 5-star rating, or even share it with a friend, whatever's easier for you. Because I'd love to get it up to 1,000 5-star ratings, because then I'll be able to, when I approach people for getting them on the podcast, it's a lot more backing into the quality of the podcast, so I can get bigger guests on and have better conversations. But that's all from me today. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate every one of you for listening. I appreciate the conversations that we have. I love doing the podcasts. As of now, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm still in Brazil. I'm in the south of Brazil, still trying to pick up a little bit of Portuguese, trying to do a little bit of training, getting back into jiu-jitsu again since my knee injury a while ago, and enjoying that, and enjoying all the ups and downs that come with it. So I hope you're doing okay. Let me know if you have any questions, or if you need help with anything. If you're dealing with any injuries, if you're dealing with any chronic issues or recurring issues, just shoot me a message and I can do my absolute best then to point you in the right direction. And if there's anything I can help with, I can do my best that way as well. But that's all for me. Thank you so much, and I'll chat to you all again next week. Have a good one.